Pizza flour is my weapon of choice today. So today's recipe, we are going to make my standard Neapolitan dough recipe. If you're into your hydrations, it's 62% hydration. That works really well with the Cotswold pizza flour. I've worked with many flours over the years, and I just love Cotswolds. I love the fact that they're a family-owned business and they're local to me, and they care and love their flour. So it means a lot to be working with Cotswolds, and it's good to know that 80% of their flour is grown like within 40 kilometers, I think, of their mill. So it's pretty local. Anyway, yeah, pizza flour is my weapon of choice today. It's great, 62% hydration is perfect for it. And it gives you a really nice, extensive, elastic dough with crusts that will puff up and be delicious. So this recipe calls for a kilo of pizza flour. We've got 620 grams of water, tap water. I like to filter mine, but that's because I live in London and I don't know, it's probably better. Yeah, so tap water. We've got 30 grams of salt. And I use fresh brewer's yeast in my dough. And you can get that from most delis or bakeries, or if you go in and ask them, they'll always share their yeast with you. And you can order it online as well. But anyway, yeah, I always use fresh yeast. I love active dried yeast, instant dried yeast. It works as well, but I just feel you get a little bit more magic, or I don't know what it is, a bit of flavor. I don't know, but I'm a fresh yeast guy. Anyway. So this recipe, this is for 20 hours total, from mixing to boiling to pizza making. So it's going to take 20 hours. And the amount of yeast you need for this, bearing in mind your room temperature is 22 degrees C, say, is a mere 0.7 grams of yeast. Most of the questions I get are, Rich, 0.7, are you sure? It's like, yes, I'm sure. And that's what it looks like there. So it's a very small amount. I've got my mixer here. I'm very good at hand mixing, but the Halo Pro from Ooni is a cracking mixer. Turn it on. What I like to do first is I pour in about 90% of my water into the mixer. Yeah, so I leave just a little bit of water back because I like to add my salt to the mix a little bit later. And when I add the salt, I add the final bit of water, and it helps it mix it in. And then I crumble my yeast in. That's all 0.7 grams of it. Now, if you have a whisk, you may want to just give it a little whisk. Just mix it in with the water. I don't have one, so I'm using my fingers today. But yeah, just mix that yeast in. And then we've got a kilo of flour. So that's going to go straight in. So I'll put my mixer down. First thing I do, so I haven't added my salt yet. First thing I do with this mixer, I set a timer for 5 minutes, and I set the speed to like 20 or 30%, just so it gently mixes everything together. And by 5 minutes, it should be nicely mixed and be an almost cohesive, slightly rough texture. And you can have a look what it looks like after 5 minutes. So set my timer. Yeah. Here we go. And then I'm just gonna turn it on. You can watch this for 5 minutes, or just gonna have a quick cup of tea. Okay, so the mix has been going for 5 minutes now. You'll see how the dough's coming together. It's not particularly smooth, but it's cohesive and it's looking good. So at this point, I like to add all of my salt. So I tip my 30 grams of salt in, and then that remaining 10% of water that I had in my jug, I add that in too to help the salt dissolve into the dough. And once the water's in, I'll then turn the mixer on again for 5 to 10 minutes until the dough looks nice and smooth. Okay, so the mix is over. The dough's looking pretty smooth. Doesn't matter if it doesn't look absolutely perfect at this point. You just want a really sort of good looking dough. If you press it, it will bounce back when you touch it, but I'll show you that in a second. So what I'm going to do is just going to open up the mixer. There we go. You can clean the dough off the remaining dough off the hook. I like to get every scrap of dough. Good thing to know, if dough ever sticks to your mixer, just get a bit of dough in your hand and touch the rest of the dough inside, and it will become attracted to that dough and it will clean really easily. A little tip that. So here's my dough in here. It's looking pretty good. So just turn my bowl upside down. It'll eventually fall off. So this is the point where you come to the bulk proof, and I like to leave my dough for about 5 to 6 hours before I ball it up. So I've sometimes left it from 8 till 10 hours. So it doesn't really matter at the moment, so long as your dough balls are balled up within 8 hours of you cooking, then they're going to be good. But let's see what's happened here. It's so strong, it doesn't want to get off. There we are. Put that mixer back in there. Put that. Right, yeah, so here's my dough. I mean, it's already feeling really great. What I like to do is, on a clean surface, okay, so just give your dough a couple little folds, and then if you've got a lovely smooth worktop, you can just pull the dough towards you. So I'm getting the dough underneath, building up some surface tension. There you go, the dough will spring back. Look at that. That's what you want to see. You want to see a springy dough. So I just let that rest for 10 minutes, put a little tea towel over it. Okay, so I've let this rest for about 10 minutes. And what I'd normally do is, if say I'm making this at 8 p.m. on a Friday night for Saturday pizza nights, I'd make it at 8 p.m. I'd leave it, I'd ball it up, I'd make it into a ball, I'd leave it in bulk in an airtight container at room temperature overnight. And then when I get up in the morning, I'd probably get up about 8 a.m. on a Saturday, because I've got kids. And I get up at 8 a.m. and then I'd ball this dough in the morning. So I'd ball this up into 6 dough balls Saturday morning, 8 a.m. and then 6 p.m. that evening, you're ready for a family pizza night. But just because we want to do this now, we're going to ball these up for you. So you can, it's always best to leave it in bulk for an hour or two at least. But if you can't wait, you can ball them up straight away and leave them in an airtight container overnight, and they'll be ready for the next day. If you don't have a dough proving tray, you can, I find I use small cereal bowls at home, and I make a dough ball up and I'll rub the inside of the cereal bowl with a bit of oil. I'll make my dough ball up, I'll put it in there, and I've got some silicone covers that you can just put over the top to keep them airtight. You can buy them online, and it's better than using cling film, which you can also use, but you shouldn't really. So yeah, so let's cut this up. So we're going to make 6 dough balls, and they're going to be about 280 grams each. Just turn my scales on. How much is that one? 370, way over. So here we go, 260, a little bit more. There we go, 280. So when you've got your dough, all I do is I just grab it in this hand and I just fold it over. And I just fold it over like that. And I fold it over again. And I keep folding until the dough feels pretty smooth. I put it down on the worktop. Just give it a little roll like that. And oops, a bit of dust on there. And then pull it towards you, make a little bit of surface tension, and you've got one dough ball good to go. And then we'll just do it again. So 2, 4, 4. Let's add a bit more to that. 280, lovely. So I get the dough ball, I try and use the smooth side, and anything that's a bit roughed up I have on the inside. And I fold that into each other. Fold like that. And you want to be careful not to make it too tight, because you don't want the dough to tear. See what it's like at the bottom, just pinched it in. Give it a roll. If you're feeling really good, you can do it with 2 hands. Okay, so the dough balls are finally made. Here we go, look at those beauties. So I'm going to put them in my dough proving tray now to rest, and they'll be ready for action at around 6 p.m. the next day. Yeah, I always start this at 8 p.m. my time at home, just because that seems to be the best. Okay, so they are good to go. So follow Cotswold Flour on Instagram and YouTube to see what we do with these next. We've got some great recipes ahead, so keep your eyes peeled.